So here's an analogy that is meant to expose the international double standard, both the formal international community, but also a lot of students on campuses who prefer to protest against Israel rather than equally pay the same amount of attention, if not more, to many other countries around the world where we know for a fact that there are severe violations of human rights. Now the problem is, every time Israel points fingers to other countries, people say, it's none of your business what these countries do, or you claim to be a democracy and they're not, and so on and so forth. So here's the analogy and see what you think about it. Let's pretend I have kids. And one of my kids gets detention. And when I ask the teacher why, the teacher says, your kid constantly disrupts class, and he speaks up to the teacher, and he picks on other kids. And when I ask my kid, he says, I do it, but other kids do it in class too. So of course, I tell my child, I don't care what other kids are doing. How they behave is never an excuse for you to do what you're doing. If you're doing something wrong, you're going to get punished and you have to stop doing it. But then, I overhear my kid's teacher brag to one of his friends that he has a black kid in class. That's my kid. My kid is the only black child in class. And that every day he finds a different way of giving my kid detention because he hates black people. What do you think? Do we have a problem here? I mean, my kid admits that he's doing what he's doing. I mean, not even a problem. Israel doesn't admit, but even if it did admit, my kid says, yeah, I was disruptive in class. But we find out that only my kid is getting that kind of attention. Is it justified? Is it okay? And what if we found out that other kids in class are even worse? That they're physically violent against their kids that they play with? Or that they've hit the teacher? Or that they broke a table? What if we find out that all the other kids in class are behaving so much severely worse than my child, but are constantly being disregarded? And what if we found out that some of these kids are actually the children of my teacher? Because my teacher has two kids studying in class with my child, and he's constantly overlooking their behavior. And he's using his authority as teacher to let them get away with murder and focus everybody's attention on my child. Does that make sense? Do you still think that I don't have any case to cry out and say there's a violation of basic principles of justice here? Because Israel is the kid. And yes, sometimes, I guess it has happened that Israel has violated human rights here and there. And it should be brought to justice. As an Israeli, as a citizen of my country, if my country does something wrong, I believe that we should be held to that standard and pay the price. But I can't help asking myself, the teacher, the Human Rights Committee, the students on campus, why? Why do they only focus on Israel? I'm not asking them not to focus on Israel at all, but I'm asking them to do it equally. And if you really care about human rights, you're going to focus on the populations around the world who are suffering the most. You're going to focus on the countries who are violating the most. And you're going to give attention to Israel. Unlike the current situation today, where we are the only kid in class that's getting detention day after day.